I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. And I was a better shot than most Republicans in Congress, and I got the trophies to prove it. But I'm also a dad. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I also believe our first responsibility is to keep our kids safe.
All right, welcome back to GMA3. That was the Democratic nominee for vice president, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, making the biggest speech of his political life on night 3 of his party's convention.
And joining us now from Chicago is the Democratic governor of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul. Thanks so much for being with us today, Governor.
Good to see you, Governor.
Thank you. My pleasure. Great to see all of you.
And just to start, I'd like to get kind of your take on how the DNC is going so far.
Oh, it's euphoric. It's energetic. It is so exciting. But the young people, the people who've never experienced what it's like to go to something where we celebrate democratic values and we have a chance to showcase the incredible talent we have, but also allow people to understand that the people behind our ticket, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, they're genuine human beings with real stories to tell that connect with everyday Americans. That's what we saw last night with Tim Walz, someone I served in Congress with. We were on the same floor in the same office building. And also I served with him as governor. So he's really connecting in a way that I don't think other politicians have in a long time, where they understand. People are thinking, he gets me. He gets me. He's lived the life experience that I'm familiar with. And that is going to be a powerful, powerful force in taking this election all the way to November.
And you've worked with Tim Walz, you just mentioned it, for quite some time now. So tell us about the man that you worked with, and what should America know?
He's the real deal. He's genuine. He's authentic. He doesn't put on airs. He doesn't think he's better than anybody. He's as down home as you'll get in any position I've ever seen. I've served at every level of government there is. But what he also has is the knowledge base. You serve in Congress all those years. You understand the national policies that are so important to us. You serve as a governor. You understand the power of the executive position. So he's the complete package.
We have to talk about the changing landscape of this race. RFK Jr. is expected to pull out and throw his support behind Donald Trump. How do you think that will affect this election?
It'll be absolutely irrelevant. You know, we are reaching into people that were non-traditional Democratic voters who are maybe left the party, independents, Republican women who are still in shock that they lost a right that they had taken for granted, that there's no longer there for young people like my daughter's age. I would not underestimate the force of women, their rage over these issues, and that's just an add-on to the traditional Democratic base that knows how to turn out voters and is going to make sure that they get to the polls.
So what does Harris have to do to seal the deal come November?
You run like an underdog. You don't take one single vote in any district in any state for granted ever. And Kamala Harris just has to let people see who she is. She's now been able to come out from behind the shadows. She's got to talk about what she has seen in going to places where she was a little bit more unnoticed when you're the number 2, but she understands what motivates people, what their fears are, and how government can be a force of good to help them, and talk about her policies of giving money, putting it back in the pockets of middle-class Americans who are struggling.
While we have you, I have to ask you about an issue that's getting a lot of attention here in New York, and it affects parents and kids all across the country. Cell phones in schools. I know you've been on a listening tour. What do you think the solution is here?
What I have heard over and over and over is that, number one, from teachers who are saying, we can't connect with our students anymore. They're so distracted throughout the entire school day that we're not even giving them the education that their parents sent them here for. 74% of American teachers surveyed said they no longer can teach, they can't connect with these kids when they have their cell phones attached to their hand. So number one, it's a problem for the education process. But also, young people, I did so many roundtables with teenagers, finding out what's going on in their minds. One young woman says, you have to save us from ourselves. I'm a mom. When a child calls for help, I'm hardwired to do something in response. They can't be the first to put down the phone. They'll be ostracized. They'll miss out on something. FOMO on steroids. They don't want to miss out on anything. But they're being tormented throughout the day, bombarded by unsolicited, addictive algorithms that the social media companies have designed to pull them in deeper. So I'm a mom, I'm a grandma now, and I'm listening to these families who want their children back.
It is a big issue, rather, and top of mind for so many. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and good to see you as well.
All right, thanks for having me.